Welcome back to Production Music Demystified with MediaTracks Music, a microcast of music works. Today we have the pleasure of welcoming David Newton, Relationship Manager for Media Writers and Publishers at PRS for Music. Welcome, David. Lovely to see you.
Good to see you.
So, in this final episode of the microcast series, we will discuss the rights music creators of production music have access to, as well as how these are paid out, and the rights differences between production music and commercial music. So before we head over to our studio, here's an advert from our sponsor. Music Works is sponsored by the Musicians Union. I'm a member of the Musicians Union. It's the trade union for musicians living and or working in the UK, and it's a community of 32,000 members working to protect musicians' rights and campaigning for a fairer industry. As well as campaigning to fix streaming and keep musicians working in the EU post-Brexit, the union collectively bargains for musicians working in orchestras and theatres and sets minimum recommended rates for freelance musicians working in other sectors. Its expert staff provide contract advice, legal advice and assistance, and a range of benefits and services to help musicians in every aspect of their work. Be part of something bigger and get the recognition you deserve. Join now at themu.org. So, welcome, Dave. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Looking forward to getting stuck into what all this means.
That's right, yeah.
So, we're going to start by talking about the different forms of music you can use in a production, right?
That's right, yeah. So what I'll try and explain at the start with regard to production music is the three different pieces of music or different sorts of music that music users can use in their productions. So you'll have commission music, where the company or the person will ask a composer to write a bespoke music for their production, used a lot in films and a lot in major TV series. You can then also include commercial music within your production. So that would be a pop song, a song which has been in the charts and been commercially recorded. And the other sort of music you can use is production music, which is essentially music written to be taken from a library and placed in programming.
Great. So what does that mean in terms of rights then? Obviously, that's a really useful clarification of those three different routes.
Yeah, so the commission music, it's essentially, you will be, in the nature of the term commission, the composer will be paid a sum of money and commissioned to write a piece of music for the production. So that covers any mechanical elements. So it's a commissioned piece of music paid for by the creator of the production. Commercial music would be used a lot in adverts at the moment. You'll see it's quite heavily used in that and different programming. Now, for commercial music, to use it in an advert, we'll use adverts as a good example. To use a piece of commercial music in an advert, you would have to get the clearance from the music publisher for the actual musical work. You would then have to probably get clearance from the actual record label, as they own the master rights for the work, and you may have to get some clearance through PPL for performance rights as well. So for commercial music, you've got to go to a few different people, and it takes a little bit longer to clear. For production music, because production music companies are essentially music publisher and record label all in one, so they own the recording rights, and they can then allow people that can clear them straight away. So essentially a production music company is a one-stop shop. So if an ad agency wants to use a piece of production music in their commercial, that music is all pre-cleared for them. They'll go to the production music company, they'll use their website, they'll source the piece of music they want to do, and they'll buy it by paying MCPS for a license. The beauty of it is it's all pre-cleared, so you can get it very quickly if you need it, if you need to change around. And that's essentially the difference between those three forms of music.
Great, that's really clear. And so within that, you've mentioned a few different types of rights. I wonder if the good next step would be to talk about the different types of rights that are needed to use a piece of music and where they're licensed from.
Yeah, so that you would need the publisher, the music publisher. So you've got a music publisher and a record label. The music publisher actually owns the work, as it were. The record label owns the recording. So they're the two rights within the work.
So when you say the publisher owns the work, does that mean the sort of written down version of the work?
Yeah, the actual
Yeah.
the creator's part of the work. Yeah, there's also, so you've got that mechanical side of it. You've also got on the Performance Rights Society as well. You need to get clearance from the PRS to use the music. Okay,
Okay.
so they're the different rights that we use. There's also PPL, and that's for the actual performers within the piece of music. They need to be contacted, and clearance needs to be made with them as well.
Yeah. So PPL for performers, PRS for the recording,
The performance of the actual
the
public
performance of
performance
it.
of the
Yeah.
piece through
Right.
TV or radio or anywhere like that. Yeah,
It's so complicated, isn't it? Um, and
that's why
then
MTPS
yeah,
production music's really easy.
yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, so for production music, all of this is covered by the production music
It's all
label.
covered, all the mechanical rights, the musical work, the clearance of the musical work, the clearance of the actual recording, and any public performance rights are cleared, and the PRS cover the actual the broadcast rights.
Great. So, from the point of view of somebody wanting to write production music who perhaps hasn't done it before or has written it but is looking to get it used, what do they need to know about rights?
So the rights that they need to know is essentially what normally happens is if you have your music in a production music company, you should expect to receive your performing royalties. So it's normally a 50-50 split with a publisher for performance royalties. Composer or composers will receive the 50% performance, and the publisher will receive the 50% performance for their publishing. Okay, so that won't change. What is pretty much traditionally the view there is that essentially the publisher will collect all the mechanical payments made to them, and whatever agreement that composer has with the publisher will then pay that composer any mechanical payments that may be due to them. So
Right.
essentially, it's a little bit like a composer of a commercial piece of music, because essentially what you'll see is that publishers will be collecting the 100%, but there'll be a contract between the publisher and the composer outside of PRS and MCPS where there'll be a payment made.
Yeah. So, are composers therefore expecting to receive payments from multiple different sources? I really, you've just said that the publisher will deal in the case of production music, the publisher will deal with all of these things and make one payment to the composer. Is that right?
For mechanical,
For
yeah,
for
for
mechanical,
mechanical.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
for example, if we'll stick with the TV advert one because it's quite a good one to use. So, an advertising agency wants to use a piece of music. It's a production piece of music. They will pay MCPS a license fee, a one-off fee to actually place that piece of music within the commercial, the synchronization of the music into the commercial, a one-off fee. That will be paid to the publisher based on the share split. So that's your mechanical payment for that TV advert. When the actual TV advert goes on to television and is shown and broadcast throughout the UK, that will be reported to us, and the composer and the publisher will receive the PRS performance monies.
Yeah.
So that's essentially what you're paying for. The ad agency is paying the sync fee direct to the publisher, the synchronization fee.
Yeah. So you have got then multiple different routes of payment for one piece of music. There's the point at which it's taken
Yeah.
on, the point at which it's aired, which presumably is continuous for the amount of time it's on
That's
for
right. Yeah,
use. Yeah.
and repeats. Any repeats
Yeah.
are paid by PRS, so that's the PRS payments.
Yeah.
And they also receive payments from the large blanket deals which we have with the BBC and ITV, where payments will be made for mechanical use on a repeat basis as well.
Great. That's really helpful to hear. So I think this is somewhat of a knotty thing for writers of music of any kind to understand.
Yeah, PRS
Yeah.
is easy. PRS is basically you assign your right of collection to the PRS, and they have blanket deals with anybody, mainly
Yeah.
blanket deals with all because it's the public performance. So all broadcasters are going to a public uh, audience. Mechanical can be different. There's different deals between different broadcasters and different production companies. So gets a little bit more complicated in the world of MCPS and mechanical payments.
Well, thank you for speaking to that as well. That's been really, really useful. So you're the relationship manager for media writers and publishers. So
Yeah.
can I ask what kind of questions do people usually come to you with?
what we normally do is obviously once we make a number of distributions a year at PRS, both performance and mechanical distributions, and they normally come to me if something might have gone wrong and the payment hasn't been received. There's different reasons why that might be. Maybe the music hasn't been reported to us. So I deal with their queries, and we try and maximise their payments for them.
Brilliant.
Funny enough, on the mechanical side, on production music side, there's very few queries to do with the actual licensing. The licensing works really well through what we call the rate card, and where a music user will refer to the rate card and say, right, okay, I want to use a piece of production music. It's £500 for a month in the UK. It's all laid out, and it really is good, and it works well. So we get very few queries at all.
Brilliant. Well, that's been really useful and very clear. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to let our audience know about this mystical world?
Uh, well, there is actually quite a lot of information available just by Googling it. You can Google MCPS production music. You can Google MCPS broadcast distribution. It's all there on the website.
Yeah.
And to any composer who wants to get into this field, essentially keep trying hard, because I know a lot of people do. I know a lot of production music websites will have contact us if you want music to upload, but it's a lengthy, keep at it, I would say. But once you're there, you should expect your publisher to do pretty much all of your admin work for you for any music you've got on their website. So including collecting or querying any unpaid performance usage, because that part of that is the publisher's job.
Excellent tip. Thank you. Wonderful. We shall round it off there. Thank you so much, Dave. It's been really
Okay, well,
informative.
thank you. Thanks for having me.